Hello, we have a 2010 Audi A6 which have a problem with the amplifier. So yeah, we have a radio that's on. We try to adjust the volume, nothing goes up. You can mute the system, pretty much no sound coming out of it. If you go to connect the scan tool, it communicates fine with the amplifier. The only thing is that when you go to do the output test and try to get some sound out of it, there's no sound coming out. So we decided to replace the amplifier. New amplifiers are pretty expensive, so we gotta use one. The amplifier is located in the trunk on the left side, right over here. This is the amplifier. We have a used one over here. They pretty expensive even for a used one. So I'm gonna replace it and program it. Okay, so the amplifier is held by 3 T25 bolts, one over here and one over here and one over there in the back. We're gonna disconnect the connectors first. This is the optic wires. You gotta press on the tab over here on the side of the connector, pull it out. You see it's trying to connect to the rest of the car, to the rest of the multimedia system. Do not damage these wires, do not bend them. If you bend them too much, they will not be working. You will have to replace the whole wiring harness for that system. You don't want to do that. This is the electrical connector for the module. You gotta press on the button over here and slide this lever all the way to the left and pull the connector straight out. Set these aside. Take the bolts out. Be careful, don't lose the bolts. Now it's very important to find and put the same bolts in. If these bolts drop somewhere in the quarter panel, you'll be driving around and they're gonna be rattling all the time. So that is why you have to be very careful not to drop them. And yes, this thing has to be mounted pretty good in order for it not to get damaged again. Let me show you those. You got two bolts on the side over there. Alright, you got the bolts out, pull the amp out, make sure the replacement amp is exactly the same part number, double, triple, make sure. See, we got part numbers over here, they match exactly. There's a lot of different part numbers of these amps that look exactly the same, just one digit difference, the amp most likely not gonna work. So make sure your part numbers are matching exactly. Put the new unit in. Just start putting the bolts in. Don't tighten them, so you could align the amp to the bolt holes. You get all the bolts in. Tighten. Alright, now connect the electrical connectors to it. To connect this big connector, you gotta put it on, make sure it aligns perfectly. There's a button over here on the front of it, and slide the lever all the way to the right. Make sure it's locked in place. It doesn't really stay in place a lot, like very good, but make sure it's locked. And just plug this one in as well. And then you have to program it. Okay, so we'll put the new used amp in. Remember, this is a used amp, it's not brand new. If you go to a dealership, they will tell you that they will not program. Most of the dealers don't want to program used amps. They tell you they will only program a new amp. Now I tell you the secret: new amps do not have to be programmed. Well, they have to be coded maybe, but there is this thing that called component protection in Audi. It prevents you from stealing parts of other cars, blah blah blah. So the used amps, if you use a used amp like we did, this is what happens. You start the car up,
and he's got the heebie-jeebie music going,
and you get the sound.
All right, now let's get back.
The only problem is,
This is not HR's
this
problem. If somebody
this is the left side of the
Okay,
speakers,
go to HR, say I was grown.
and this is the right side of the speakers. You don't get no sound coming out of the right side of the speakers. So we have only sound on the left side. That's a component protection sign. That means that the component protection was not activated. That means that the amp has to be reprogrammed. There are a couple of ways of going about it. Number one, and easiest way, to buy a brand new amp for 2,000 bucks and put it in the car. The component protection will automatically get set to this car and write the VIN numbers and everything into the new amp, which might be a little bit too expensive for you. Number two is try to beg your dealership to program a used amplifier to your car, which is possible as well, and we're gonna show you how to do that in a second. We're gonna use the ODIS, the original scan tool for Audi. And number three, there's a couple of aftermarket scan tools that are able to do that, but in order for you to do that, you're probably gonna need a couple of more control modules and the keys from the other car that the amp came from, which makes it very uncomfortable. We have those tools, but we rarely use them because it makes no point. You have to buy several computers and a key from the car that you only need one computer from, and then it's a lot more labor than using ODIS. So here you go. This is how you do it with ODIS. Alright, so we adapted the component protection on this thing.
If there was something out there, considering the fact that everything else in this investigation is leaked, it's been a sieve, we'd know about it. We would know about it at this point.
So I think Mueller has some
Now we have the sound in all the speakers in the car. So this is how you do it. I mean, you're gonna have a biggest problem with obtaining the ODIS, but other than that, you can put in the used audio system components in this car. Good luck.